As we continue off with our conversations this morning, the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology on Tuesday announced the endorsement of the Access to Information Act number 8 of 2022 regulations. Minister Emma Theofelus said the commencement of the act will lead to the establishment of the Independent Office of the Information Commissioner. She urged the public and private institutions to prepare and continue providing information proactively to enhance the lives and livelihoods of Namibians. With an analysis on the importance of this development, we're now joined by Zoe Titus, the Director of the Namibia Media Trust. Ms. Titus, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much
for to all the viewers.
All right. Thank you so much for making time to talk to us.
It's a pleasure being with you.
All right. As a starting point, perhaps let's state and discuss the importance of the access to information.
Well, I think that access to information is a very critical aspect of any democratic dispensation. It allows for all those very important things that we focus on consistently in terms of participatory decision-making, transparent decision-making. I think there is a very critical link between access to information, freedom of expression and development. And that is the reason why we, the Namibia Media Trust, as part of a coalition, the Action Namibia Coalition, have been campaigning since 2016 for this Access to Information Act, which was subsequently gazetted in December 2022.
All right. Ms. Titus, what do you think the bill means for the nation as well as the institutions?
You know, let's speak about what we are currently facing. We are a few months away from elections, and access to information would be a very, very critical element that would allow citizens to make informed decisions about what to do when they get to the ballot box. This Access to Information Act, as it stands now, would greatly enhance the legal framework. And that is what we have been campaigning for consistently, not just an Access to Information Act, but a much broader framework that makes provision for transparency and accountability, which comes with access to information.
Right. So how does the notion of Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights speak to access to information?
Well, I'm so glad that you asked that question, because it talks about the right to receive and impart information. What access to information subsequently means is your right to receive and impart information now becomes an informed right to receive and impart information that is relevant to you, information that has been verified, and information that really makes, adds value and makes, you and all the issues that you face relevant in public life.
Now, freedom of information legislation reflects the fundamental premises that all information held by governments and governmental institutions is in principle public and may only be withheld if there are legitimate reasons. Would you say this is the same? This is the case in the Namibian context?
That is certainly the case in the Namibian context. And in addition to that, our law, once it becomes operational, will also make provision for the release of certain levels of private information. But as citizens, I think we're probably more concerned about the proactive, and this is a very, very important notion, the proactive disclosure of public information, which government is holding in trust for us.
All right. Now, earlier on, you spoke about the Action Coalition, and we understand that it has campaigned and advocated for a formal and comprehensive ATI legislative framework that is in Namibia. Now, the Access to Information Legislation Act is here now. What do you think is next?
Well, I can tell you that the Action Namibia Coalition has been active since 2016 and in fact worked very, very closely with government to develop our current Access to Information Act, using the African Union model law as a reference, and it's still the, the gold standard in terms of this legislation. What is next? The important thing is, I mean, the regulations, as it states very clearly, would make provision for the establishment of the independent office of the Information Commissioner. So this is now the process of operationalizing the law. What is important and what is next for media, the public, is to actively demand information, because now we've got the right to do so. And aside from demanding and acting on our right to information, we also need to monitor, importantly, the independence of the Information Commissioner, and all the relevant steps that go along with ensuring that this right is really realized. This is so critical for all aspects of life. We cannot be active citizens when we are uninformed. So I really appeal to everyone to take up their role and responsibility to participate and use this law very actively.
All right. So how does access to information contribute to fighting inequality in Namibia?
Oh, good gracious, that's a very broad question. You see, where inequality exists, it is compounded by a lack of information, a lack of access to information. It is where citizens have no power to intervene, to, balance balance the powers at play. And access to information would enable the ability or allow for citizens to be actively involved in policy making and decision making from an informed perspective, so that we can, have that agency to fight against inequality. It is really an empowering feeling to know that you can speak to and act on an issue from an informed perspective.
All right. How readily available is information for researchers and journalists?
Well, I can tell you that, journalists have been doing journalism for thousands of years, and they've done that without an Access to Information Act. I mean, that's the profession, but this particular law is going to hopefully secure and further improve the conditions that allow for sound journalism, for sound investigative journalism. I hope that answers your question. I think I might have left something out.
All right. Information is definitely readily available, but the SADC Protocol on Culture, Information and Sport called on member states to promote the use of information and Communications Technologies to achieve access to information. Just talk to us about the importance of ICT in promoting access to information, especially in Namibia.
Well, ICTs, and I mean, our government is investing um, very strategically in the rollout of ICT infrastructure to, yeah, enable connectivity and allowing for more people to have access to information. But we must also, I mean, take into consideration that there are still news deserts and there are still places where people cannot access the internet, where people, I mean, for economic reasons, are not able to access this developing ICT infrastructure because they don't have the technology, they don't have the smartphone. So those are things that we need to take into consideration. And another important element, and I hope that we can shortly, engage more proactively on the cost of data. It makes the cost of data, makes access to ICT infrastructure, makes access to information fundamentally inaccessible to a large number of Namibians.
All right. Ms. Titus, any final remarks on the act before we let you go?
Well, I'm very happy that we are making progress. I think these are very, very exciting times for Namibia, and especially when we are speaking about the impending oil and gas boom. As critically important, I think, that Namibians are proactively informed, that they are engaged and included in important conversations, and that is enabled through access to information.
Ms. Titus, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for expanding on the Access to Information Act.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
All right. Zoe Titus, the director of the Namibia Media Trust, joining us this morning, seeing that the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology on Tuesday announced the endorsement of the Access to Information Act. Now, the Act will lead to the establishment of an independent office of the Information Commissioner.